Very much.
You're most welcome, David.
Now let's check in with the numbers. Vodafone stock in London is up 4.66% ahead of that apparent deal. The FT100 is up 1.5% this morning. The Nikkei index in Tokyo closed up 1.33%. Markets, of course, in the U.S. closed for the holiday. And one more number, as it were, Diana Nyad is less than 10 miles from her goal of swimming from Cuba to Florida without a shark tank. Nyad has attempted this 3 times in the last 3 years. One more relevant number about Diana, who used to work on the air with us here at Marketplace. She's doing this at the age of 64. Headlines earlier this year giving up on economic growth in China were always an exaggeration, but there's new data showing renewed signs of life from one of the engines of the global economy. A survey of people who do the ordering at factories in China has ticked upward to the highest point in 16 months. Chen Lu is with the Economist Intelligence Unit in Beijing.
If you look at many of the latest economic indicators, a lot of them are pointing to a somewhat better economic situation, suggesting that the worst of the 2013 slowdown may be over. At the same time, the government is also doing more to support the economy. So I would be quite confident to see that this year China's economic growth can achieve within the government initial target of 7.5% growth.
Pair this with the recent news from statisticians in Europe that the long recession there may be formally over. Europe, of course, still has shockingly high unemployment in some of its regions and still has a lot of economic work to do. AAA, the Automobile Club, figures 34 million people are out there on the roads this Labor Day weekend. That's the highest level since the recession hit in 2008. Many are also trying to fly, where getting a carry-on bag on and off has become a logistical challenge of epic complexity. Reporter Sally Herships looked into this.
The scene, Newark Airport. Overpriced sandwiches, elevator music. That's where I met with 2 couples who pursue very different boarding strategies. First,
try to push the small and the weak out of the way, and that's usually a good strategy. I'm just joking.
Suraj Gupta and Lindsay Sage are on their way to Seattle. They get as close to the front of the line as possible.
Well, if you've got the rollerboards, you need to get on first. Otherwise, they'll take them from you. But, we're not unethical in the sense that, some people come on in their row 33 and they put their rollerboard, above seat 2. I mean, that's just mean.
Sage and Gupta are what are called gate lice, people who crowd the boarding area before their group is called. Are you guilty?
I think everyone in Newark Airport is.
I feel like I'm becoming like my old Indian parents. I'm at the front of the line. I have to be there first.
You're getting on, and you're getting on first.
That's dentures next.
But some passengers prefer to delay the inevitable as long as possible.
I do, actually. I prefer getting on last or near last.
Miriam Everett and her husband Fred, a couple of a certain age, are returning to California after vacation.
I don't see the advantage. Everyone always seems like they're in such a hurry to get on the plane.
Fred, in particular, had a lot to say about the boarding process, beginning with the technical challenges of checking in.
How does an old person get through this? Right? What if you can't use a computer? How do you get on a plane?
No one I spoke with at the gate had a perfect solution, but the airlines do. Buy a first-class seat or pay to board early. In Newark, I'm Sally Herships for Marketplace.
Consult us digitally at marketplace.org for a story asking if student loan debt will be the next bubble to pop. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio with the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
Can I have some?
Lobbying in favor of striking Syria.
The president's search for congressional support.
In Egypt, another former president is charged.
Mohamed Morsi will stand trial for inciting murder.
And Diana Nyad, swimming from Cuba, is close to Florida.
Been trying since 1950, and no one's ever made it.
Good morning, I'm Dan Raviv with the CBS World News Roundup. Our top story after President Obama announced Saturday that he wants the U.S. military to strike Syria, but first Congress should debate that and vote. Mixed opinions are heard from senators and House members after a closed-door briefing at the Capitol.
I'm a no based on the information that I have now.
They've got a lot more explaining to do.
The mood at the district that I represent is
do not do this.
We turn live to CBS News White House correspondent Peter Mayer. In the face of that skepticism, what does President Obama do next?
Well, for starters, he has a Labor Day meeting at the White House with Senator John McCain, one of the leading critics of his Syria strategy. On CBS's Face the Nation, McCain accused the president of effectively passing the Syria decision to Congress.
He didn't say that it's a red line, and by the way, I'm going to have to seek the approval of Congress. He said it was a red line and the United States of America would act.
McCain said the move on Syria cannot be what he described as pinprick cruise missiles. He wants a more robust attack. McCain says congressional rejection of the president's call for military action would be very serious, but the senator's not ready to say how he'll vote. Heading into today's meeting, he wants more information.
CBS's Peter Mayer in Washington, and in Syria's capital, Damascus, CBS News correspondent Elizabeth Palmer reports relief the country's not been hit by U.S. missiles.
Damascus as a city is still functioning, although it's been gutted. A lot of the merchants have moved out. Anybody with enough money has moved their assets and often their families down to the coast to Beirut, where they think it will be safer.
Chanting support for Syria's President Assad, some Syrians put up tents, calling themselves human shields, and protested near the U.S. embassy. In Moscow, Russia's foreign minister says evidence from the U.S. government of a chemical weapons strike is unspecific and unconvincing. President Obama will be at the Group of 20 summit in Russia this Thursday. Hackers who call themselves the Syrian Electronic Army this morning took over a website that promotes the U.S. Marine Corps. Their message accuses President Obama of wanting to help, quote, Al-Qaeda insurgents by opposing the government in Syria. Now to Egypt, the president who was overthrown 2 months ago will now be put on trial. Mohamed Morsi is accused of inciting the killing of opponents. In Cairo, CBS's Alex Ortiz.
These charges in particular relate to violence that happened late last year under his rule, in which anti-Morsi demonstrators had gathered outside the presidential palace. Muslim Brotherhood supporters came out at the behest of their leaders, and clashes ensued between the two sides.
14 other members of the Muslim Brotherhood are also being charged. Now the latest on surveillance by the U.S. government. We go live to CBS News correspondent Vicki Barker.
Not just European leaders. The journalist on the receiving end of Edward Snowden's leaks claims the NSA is also intercepting emails sent to or from Mexico and Brazil's presidents. Glenn Greenwald making that claim on Brazilian TV. And not just the NSA. The New York Times reports federal and local drug enforcement officials have been accessing a massive AT&T database for at least 6 years. The government insists proper subpoenas are issued for each data search and that the program has helped investigators catch drug dealers who keep switching prepaid phones. Dan?
The long-distance swimmer Diana Nyad has already swum in the Florida Straits farther than anyone without a shark cage. Her team says she's less than 10 miles from Key West. She left Havana, Cuba, Saturday. CBS's Elaine Quijano.
With her crew of 35 people by her side, Nyad braved intense winds through the night, but she remained positive. With a strong current, she's been averaging 2.2 miles an hour. Though her team says she is sore, sick from the sea salt, and hallucinating, she is not in danger.
They believe the 64-year-old will make it to Florida by about 4 p.m. The former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, has spent his first night back home, released from a hospital after almost 3 months. But CBS's Deborah Patta reports.
Some of Nelson Mandela's family say they are delighted that he is back home, but in fact the news is a lot more grim. Nelson Mandela's return home does not indicate any change in his condition. He remains critically ill, unable to breathe on his own, and on a number of life-supporting machines.
Mandela is 95. Exiles from Iran who say they've been stuck in Iraq for decades report 52 in their community were shot dead when agents of Iran's government attacked them in their camp in Baghdad. The MEK, a group opposed to the Islamic government in Iran, has been asking the U.S. and the UN to arrange better security for them as refugees. Get the flu shot early. That's new advice from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Dr. Hank Bernstein wrote the policy that says even children 6 months or older should get it as soon as the vaccine's available.
People should not wait
until December or January or February to get the vaccine. They should be calling their doctor's offices now.
Flu vaccine for the coming season has already been shipped out. The Rim Fire near Yosemite National Park in California has been burning for 2 weeks as firefighters battle the blaze with no break for Labor Day. Spokesman Trevor Augustino.
Seems like we're turning the corner to get this fire contained, and hopefully by September 20th.
An 18-day target for what's now the fourth largest fire in California history, over 350 square miles. The end of the summer season for New Jersey beaches not crowded after superstorm damage last October.
At the Spicy Cantina restaurant, Labor Day weekend is normally one of their busiest. But owner Wayne Cimarelli said unusually wet weather and delayed repairs made for a difficult summer.
I'm off. 15% doesn't sound like a lot, but it is quite a bit.
Near his restaurant is where the Jetstar roller coaster washed into the ocean. The casino pier, where it once stood, is reopened, but still the amusement park's numbers are down at least 25%.
You get a false sense that we're coming back a little quicker than we are, so I think we're going to be nervous about next year.
For now, he's just hoping another storm won't hit the Jersey Shore. There's still 3 months left in hurricane season. Terrell Brown, CBS News, Seaside Heights, New Jersey.
A British soccer star scored a record contract, Gareth Bale, moving from Tottenham Hotspurs to Real Madrid, the Spanish team paying $250 million. In Newtown, Connecticut, less than 9 months after the elementary school massacre, the Labor Day parade starts in 2 hours, part of recovery.
First responders will be highlighted in today's parade, and because officials could not focus on any one individual, given what the town has been through, all of Newtown will serve as this year's Grand Marshal. Parade Committee President Beth Caldwell says canceling the parade was never a consideration.
We've always planned to have a parade. And, our opinion is this is a great chance for Newtown to come together and to celebrate all that makes us such a special community.
The Newtown Parade has been held since 1962 and is still the only Labor Day parade in the state of Connecticut. Bill Pierce, CBS News, Hartford, Connecticut.
You know the advice. Be careful driving or boating on this Labor Day. Balboa Pier at Newport Beach, California, had to close because a yacht bumped into it. 11 people abandoned ship. They're okay. That's the World News Roundup, Monday, September 2nd. Dan Raviv, CBS News.
Welcome back to Studio 26 on this Labor Day morning, 2013. And I can't believe I forgot about it, but thankfully CBS News reminded me. I forgot the president's address. And I know you Republicans out there are going, don't we hear enough from him as is? No, you don't. You may not like him, but he's still the president of the United States. Well, we'll have the address from the president of the United States of America coming up in just a moment. And also on the program, we'll have What's Trending, plus news of the weird, popular tweets, the song of the day, and what's on television tonight. All that, and a can of cream cheese, perhaps. Well, maybe not the cream cheese. But more programming coming up in just a moment, so stick around. Won't you? I know you will, because you're dying to figure out what's going on here. Like me, try to figure out how to run the controls here on this edition of Joe's Mixtape.
Can I have some?
Hi, I'm Bev Randalls, chairman of the Missouri Club for Growth. If you're like most people, you've had enough of wasted tax dollars and inefficient government. It's no surprise independent polling consistently finds that Americans believe at least half of our federal tax dollars are wasted every year. Here in Missouri, our state legislature is working to cut waste and grow our economy by passing the first major tax reform in nearly 100 years. This tax reform will benefit all Missourians by creating new jobs and letting us keep more of our hard-earned money to spend as we see fit. Put simply, tax reform means economic growth, and growth means more money and more opportunities for more Missouri families. If you agree, we need your help. Visit growmissouri.com today to tell our elected officials, stop wasting our tax dollars and start focusing on jobs and the economy. That's growmissouri.com.
Paid for by Missouri Club for Growth PAC.
These babies have been born with something that affects more people than malaria, cancer, or even HIV and AIDS. Because of it, many of them will be denied an education and condemned to a life of poverty. Thousands of them will be killed. Millions more will be victimized and abused. Because all these babies have one thing in